You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show. It is Friday. We're always happy to be here with you. This is now September. We just had Labor Day. It's September the 5th. And we have an exciting guest coming up on our second half. Her name is Sharon Wise. She was homeless for a while, but she runs the Sharon House in Southeast Washington. And when she and I received the Joe Biden Award together at the same day, she's talking about a program that's coming up over there in Ward 8. But let's go to Dr. Julianne Malvo, who comes on every week to talk to us about the president and his economy, and the economy, because she is an economist. But she also going to talk about a little politics. Dr. J, do your thing.
Okay, Lyndia, it's been fascinating to watch. First of all, Congress was out in August. They came back. I said, welcome back, cowards, because they're all cowards. Mm-hmm. From the Democrats who don't speak up enough to the Republicans who know better. Mm-hmm. They know better. They're allowing this man to wreck our Constitution, to wreck our democracy. And they just sit back because they think that they're allowing him to amass power. But all the power he amasses, shifting sand. It's shifting sand. But anyway, welcome back, cowards. And remember the song, Welcome Back, Kotter? Well, it's like, welcome back, cowards. Mm-hmm. Here they come back. What are they going to do? The first thing they talk about Jeffrey Epstein. That's their big thing. Jeffrey, who gives a you-know-what about that? Let's talk about the economy. Let's talk about what's going on. Interest rates. Let's talk about people going to the grocery store and they can't afford what they afforded a month ago. Interest rates. Let's talk about the fact that the president is trying to fire Lisa Cook, the only Black woman, the first Black woman on the Federal Reserve Board. He wants to fire her over some BS around mortgage fraud. They can't prove mortgage fraud. They can't prove anything. But here's a challenge. Most economists are suggesting that the ways that Mr. Trump is going after all of this, the way that he's going after this is going to cause economic destabilization. In other words, we once had the most stable economy in the world, the most stable economy. That's why we were an index economy. That's why people cared about what happened to the US dollar. The more he fiddles with it, the less confidence there is. And this is going to mean more challenges for Americans, not only at home, but also abroad. And we see already the world order buckling back against this Trump-imposed nonsense. Putin was in China, with also South Korea. They're looking at, well, can we provide an alternative? And the answer for many is yes, we can. Yes, we can. China, Russia, South Korea, those countries are biting back at the United States. They would not have dared do that 5 years ago, even 2. But now what they see is our weakness, and our weakness is exacerbated by a narcissistic egomaniac. That's probably repetitive, but a narcissistic egomaniac who really has run our economy down. The tariff issue, well, I've talked about it many times before. I'm not going to talk about it a lot today, but the fact is that people are now, when he first started talking about increasing tariffs, people were like, oh, not a big thing. Now, as we approach the Christmas holidays, we're seeing a big thing. We're seeing 10, 20, 30% increases in just little piddly stuff, erasers, pencils, tote bags. But those all are part of our economy. Meanwhile, executive privilege is being attacked because this man has lost his mind. A federal court says he's not able to increase tariffs. That's supposed to be Congress's job. So there was a very recent court ruling that says, you can't do that. He's pushing back, and they are allowing the tariffs to stay until mid-October, which I think is a mistake, but that's what they're doing. Then let's talk about the Centers for Disease Control, where the woman who was leading it was fired because she did not agree with RFK Jr. Her name is Susan Manaras. They fired her less than a month after her confirmation because she did not agree with RFK Jr. about the issue of vaccinations and autism. Then we have, of course, the Fed with Lisa Cook and the instability that basically introduces into our economy. And then we have the FEMA employees who wrote a letter saying, look, you're cutting FEMA during hurricane season. This doesn't make sense. So what was the response from the government? Fire them all. Or though they were put on administrative leave, they weren't fired, put on administrative leave. Now, a whistleblower at the Social Security Administration resigned over data handling. Again, we should all the dominoes falling, but nobody seems to do anything about it, which is why I say, welcome back, cowards. You all don't know what you're doing. The FEMA thing is very concerning, and many, including the great General Russell Honoré, has said, this is a mistake. We can't go down this way. It's like, how much damage can you do and how can we recover from it? And the answer is we're not going to recover from it. This man has done permanent damage to our economy and very permanent damage to many of the people whose lives depend on it. Now, Brother Man wants to go to Chicago to stop the crime in Chicago, just like he tried to stop it in DC. Told the lie that we have fewer murders than we ever have. That's just not the truth. Crime has gone down, but crime always goes down. But in any case, he wants to go to Chicago. Brandon Johnson, the mayor, and Governor Pricken have said, you ain't welcome. But he wants to come there anyway. Chicago, he's talking about Baltimore. He's talking about several other cities that are led in states that have Democratic governors. How come he won't go to Memphis, which has more crime than any place? He will go to Memphis because there is a Republican governor. So basically, this ICE nonsense is going to continue. Tell your young people, if you're listening, make sure you have the appropriate protocol to deal with these devils. Make sure that you have don't let them have your phone unless they take it. Don't fight them because it's not going to turn out right. But here's what we must do. What we all must do around this is resist and then resist again. These immigration crackdowns are happening all over the country. We've all seen them here in DC, but in Chicago, the governor has said, no, he doesn't need any National Guard, but they're coming anyway. This is called the oligarchic march towards the lack of democracy, and we have to stand back and stand up against it. Lyndia, tell me how much more time I have.
About 2 more minutes.
Oh, goody. I have 2 more minutes. See, I never know. I get started. I never know what is going on. But what I would say is also going on, FEMA has pulled back on money targeting domestic violent extremism. In other words, people keep talking about terrorists. FEMA had money to try to stop terrorists. They cut that grant out of the Department of, I believe it's Homeland Security. So while we keep saying that we're concerned about terrorism, we're cutting grants about terrorism. But then we're cutting grants about so many other things, and you can tell it. Now, of course, this week and last, young people headed back to school. We're excited for them. We're so very excited for them. But are we excited about the infrastructure around them? What we know is happening right now is that first, the Department of Education is not doing its job. They can't. They've been cut by about 50%. If your child was standing up for a student loan, it probably ain't happening. Or you go down to the college, you get in the car and go to wherever, Hampton, you go get in your car, go and advocate for your child, because right now the department that does student loans is understaffed. Meanwhile, at the K through 12 level, same thing. Parents, you have to be involved. Not only parents, grandparents, aunties have to be involved. Our students have come back to school with less resources than they had a year ago and with more drama than they had a year ago. And it's up to us to be the tapestry that protects them. And I know that we'll all do that because it's what we must do. Finally, Lyndia, just finally, I'm sitting here smiling, thinking about back to school. Want to shout out the Southeast Tennis and Learning Center in Southeast DC and the young people there who are doing their best to do better, to do more better. Shout out every K through 12 principal and teacher who are doing better against all odds. We appreciate you. We really do. Someone called me the other day and said, would you like to be a high school principal? Do you know how hard I laughed?
I know you did.
I said, oh, hell no. So I admire those who do that work. It just ain't me. That's it for me this week, Lyndia.
All right, then. That was good, Dr. Julian. Thank you so much. All right. We're going to go to our commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington Informer religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired. But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in." Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it. Be inspired.
Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. Now we're going into our second half. I'm so happy to have with us this evening Sharon Wise. I met Sharon Wise in 2023 when we were being honored with the Joe Biden Awards at the Matthews Memorial Baptist Church, and it was Juneteenth. So it was June 23rd. And I remember her story. That's why. But I've been working with her on a program that she's got going on right now. I'm very excited about it. She was a little bit about her background. She was homeless, but she started a company. And I want her to tell you a little bit about the company. And then we're going to talk about what you're doing.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you, Dr. Grant, for having me on your show. And I definitely remember that day because it was a transformational day, winning that prestigious award and winning it on a platform with people like you and others who, Montel Jordan and some other folks who had won the same day that we did. And yes, my name is Sharon Wise. I'm the founder and CEO of the House of Sharon. And I was formerly homeless, jails, institutions, children in foster care, anything that could have happened to someone with trauma, it happened to me. But I didn't let that define me. I decided that I would take what happened to me and let it happen for me and use all of that experiences and trials and all of those things I had to overcome as a backdrop to serve others. And so the House of Sharon started, we'll be 31 years old. That's right, 31 years old. On November the 1st, we'll be 31 years old. And we actually started out burying children who had been murdered by their parents. That's how we got in this business. And no, we didn't want to be in that business. We didn't seek it out. It was just something that happened. And when we started finding out and hearing about these babies that was just left in different situations, trash cans, or that died at rainbow babies died in hospitals and people would just abandon them, I just felt compelled to do something about it.
And my so son, and that's the House of Sharon you're describing.
The House of Sharon. Yes, ma'am. The House of Sharon. That's how we got that's how we cut our teeth, in other words. We started out doing that kind of work, and people started beginning to know us for doing work with kids getting murdered in the streets with no insurance and things like that. And we were able to support them. And I started out supporting them with my own rent money, and I kept my lights off. I don't know when I paid my light bill on time, because I was so busy out there serving because of what had happened to me and what I had overcome. And for some reason at that time, 31 years ago, I felt that I had to kind of pay God back for delivering me from under them bridges and overpass and putting my children back in my life. And that just became one of the things that we did. So moving forward, about 3 years later, it became where we started to have people come. We were being given people that were homeless, that was found who had frozen to death and things like that. And we decided that we would get in front of it and kind of prevent that by offering supports, working with shelters, creating a resource guide so that people wouldn't be outside on the streets. We would go on the underpass and bridges and places that I had lived, actually, serving people, giving them flyers, making sure that they know where to go. This was way before hypothermia buses and vans and stuff was coming out. We used our own van. And they could sit in there and we cut the heat on and give them a sandwich and things like that, and started to create these different types of alliances with people. And all of that was so that I could try to heal myself from what happened to me.
Amen. Well, I am so excited that and how long has the House of Ruth been in existence?
The House of Sharon.
We've been in the House of Sharon. I'm sorry.
It's like that. And I actually got my name from the House of Ruth because I was at the house of Imogene when I first got out of prison 35 years ago. They sent me to the house of Imogene, and I just loved that name. And Miss Imogene, she was not no one to play with. This lady, if you wasn't getting up, going to find a job or trying to do something with your life, you could forget it. You was not coming to her house. And from there, I went to the House of Ruth. And when I left the House of Ruth, I told myself, if I ever get me a program, it's going to be the House of Sharon.
All right.
And I was going to do the same type of things that they were doing. And about 20 years ago, we got involved with HR 57, and that was to preserve jazz and blues as a national treasure. And our first stop was to go to homeless shelters and unhoused people's camps and things like that. And we would just pop up on the side of the street or in a parking lot or something, and we'd play. And I'd curated primarily and sing and different things, and different bands would play. And that's how I got involved with the jazz and blues piece. And that turned into something that everything that I've ever done in my life had been about retribution and healing, and how do I undo some of the harms that I've caused. And before you know it, there's a crowd, there's a people to serve. We created an intake form. We created a way for people to be able to find out where we were, and we put out a little calendar and things like that until we got organized. Now, mind you, all of this is happening with no budget. We've never had dedicated funding since we've been in business. We've never gotten grants and things like that. But for some reason, we've managed to be able to continue what we're doing because the community that uses our services support us. The students that we adopt in these different high schools and follow them for a whole year, getting them to college, and then sending care packages 4 times a year or more if the family needs it. They then come back and serve or give back or support the different things that we do.
So
And
those
that's how
are
we've been able to stand.
And those are like community partners, or are those somebody different?
These are community partners. These are like just students, people we've helped. We have this one guy that we helped probably 20 years ago. He never forgot what we done, and he was on drugs and everything. Now working for Metro. I think he's been at Metro about 18 years now. He always, every month, he sends a little love offering.
Wonderful.
Because we helped him. And my thing is that's what real community, to me, real community partnership is all about. It's not about depending on government to fund something, because what I've found over the years is that if government don't send that check or you don't win that grant, all of a sudden the service goes away. But because I've always operated with little or nothing, I have always been very resourceful. And in my resourcefulness, 15 years ago, I decided that I wouldn't just be a person in recovery with lived experience, sharing my horrific story of what happened to me. I would go and get my master's degree so that I can be able to speak on both sides of the room. Rather I was on a park bench talking, or rather I was on Park Avenue. Rather I was in a boardroom, or rather I was in a classroom. No matter where I was, I had to learn how to have these different types of conversations so that I can serve people on another level. And that has moved the House of Sharon all over the globe. My art hangs all over the world. I'm a film writer, award-winning film writer. My film, Letter to Naya, which is about when I surrendered my children, has won a silver medal and a gold medal in the Addy Awards, one of the top awards that the advertising community gives. And all of this is just my story being told, because I know it being told is going to help someone else. And that's why the House of Sharon has been able to be so successful to me. No, we're not millionaires. No, we don't have $1 million grants coming in or anything like that. But what we do have is a commitment and a passion to serve the community. And at this time, the last 11 years, has been through jazz and blues, which is why we decided to partner with Reverend Motley and Mariah's Wish to put on the Jazz in the Garden.
But tell us about that. Tell us about Jazz in the Garden and the tribute to Dick Morgan that's coming up.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you for asking that. As I said, for the past 11 years, we've been popping up at different places in the community, offering absolutely free concerts. You heard that right, or complimentary. Some people don't like the word free. We offer complimentary live music around jazz and blues in different communities around the city. And we do 4 major fundraisers a year. And this is our last fundraiser of the year. The one before this, we did Shades of Purple, which was a jazzy event that there was a focus on that 19-year-old to 24-year-old domestic violence, and we decided to tie jazz around that. And it was a fabulous event at the same location. And so when we decided to do our last fundraiser of the year, it was just called Jazz in the Garden. And then I ended up running the Reverend Motley, and he was telling me that they were getting ready to have this piano delivered to busboys and poets at Anacostia. So I wanted to see what was going to happen. And the day it was delivered, I believe it was on Marion Barry's birthday, they delivered the piano, a beautiful piano, to busboys and poets. And I wanted to be a part of whatever was going to happen with that piano. That now we had a symbol of hope right here in our community, tied to the very thing that I love, which is jazz and blues. And I felt that collaboration would just be epic. So when we found the date and everything like that, we put that spin on there, Jazz in the Garden, a tribute to Dick Morgan, to bring out that legacy. One, to make sure that young people know about jazz and blues and are able to enjoy it on different levels, whether it's them tickling that ivory at Busboys and Poets, or getting involved with the arts or in school and things like that, to divert them from getting in trouble, or just maybe they're just an enthusiast. And so this event is not just to recognize Dick, it's to celebrate everyone who's ever touched his life. So with this, there is a award program attached to it where we're honoring 9 individuals who have made a difference in the jazz and blues community. And some of those people are WPFW, the Washington Music Conservatory, Dr. Sandy Logan over at Duke Ellington, Keith Kilgo, one of the founding members of the Blackbirds, and just some other wonderful people who knew Dick or knew about his work or plays his music. And this is an opportunity for the community to just come out, come to the beautiful Project Create Garden and enjoy all these jewels that we have in historical Anacostia, just blocks away from the first African American to own real estate, which was Frederick Douglass.
Tell the people, you only got about 1 more minute. So tell them how they can get tickets or register or RSVP.
Yes, ma'am. The event is actually happening on one of the nights of Art All Night. It is Saturday, September 13th, 2025, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. at Project Creates Garden, 2210 Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, Southeast Rear. They can call me or call our number 202-867-0956. Plus, there's a wonderful article in the Washington Informer with all of our contact information in there, and they can find out that way. Come out. Even if you don't RSVP, just come out. We'd love to have you. And I thank you so much for allowing us these minutes to to just celebrate Dick Morgan and the community together.
Yes, indeed. All right. Well, I'm so happy you were able to get some hits from from our column that we wrote for you.
Yes, 15 people.
Good, wonderful. All right. Well, we thank you, Sharon Wise, for being our guest today, and we hope everybody will come out and support the Dick Morgan tribute and enjoy all the other programs that she's got going on. You'll hear a whole lot about it that day. Give her a call at 202-867-0956. Am I right?
That's right. Yes, ma'am. That's it, Dr. Grant.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. That does it for this week today.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.